So, as promised, we're going to start with the Towerhouse Creative Nuul dice, which these are specifically designed for helping you come up with information regarding NPCs. So, we actually, if we were to open up the instructions, can see a series of different demeanors and things. So how are the NPCs going to be perceived or interact with the player characters? And these dice both have the same on all faces. And then you would roll, and there's a little bit of information on how to, dive into that. And then they do have, between this side and the other side, a full sort of idea on what the different roles could be interpreted as well as information for kind of putting it into a statement, adding modifiers, and then just additional tips. So let's go ahead and just roll it. We'll determine a random NPC. Okay, so we have a skull here, and we have a mist. So skull is either hostile or chaotic, and mist is uncertain or neutral. So that could be interpreted in a bunch of different ways. You may also want to consider which die you want to be the first of the two. But if we were to go ahead and look, a skull and a mist in this order seems hostile, but not clear why. There's a tense feeling, a dark, glaring expression. Now, what if we switched these around and said that it was mist first and then it might be chaotic or hostile? That would be, not sure why this creature is so hostile, but it is clearly looking to fight. So there's just a couple different ways to go from there, and you can see, obviously, you can look at it as a statement, right? The bandit seems hostile but may talk, right? The bandit seems hostile but unsure why, or however you want to add to that. There are options here if you want to add modifiers based on, how the players may have already interacted with them. But the additional tips are also really interesting, right? So you could obviously just roll one die if you don't want to get too in-depth into the character. So, right, he's hostile, or they're, uncertain or wary. But it says you could pick a result and basically say, okay, the peddler is always going to be chatty, right? We know that. So let's roll the other one and determine today he seems hostile, right? If it's a merchant, they're probably going to be willing to treat with the party. Consider using this to expand the results of the Fate Mail die, which we'll cover in the future. And then more importantly, use the dice, but then trust your gut to see whatever makes sense. So again, we could interpret that a handful of different ways. We could just say, they're chaotic, neutral, or however you want to look at it. But definitely an interesting set of dice to keep in your back pocket when you need to figure out what's going on with an NPC.